Let's see, I don't know if I can get this to zoom in or not. We'll see. Zoom in a little bit would be good. Kind of like just reposition the mic. Get some RC crack here. Bring it up. Take a look. Doubt it's gonna. Well, I'll bring it up a little bit. Too bad. Alright, this will be a little better now. Give it a second. There we go. Yeah, that's a little better. So what's up, people? Got these shocks here. I bought these and put them on my SSD build to run in droop. Just cheap Chinese shocks to run her in droop, but they're too long. And they're 120 millimeters. Yeah, they're all 120 millimeters. Got some springs underneath right now, just sucking them up a little bit. We're gonna have to go through, redo them a bit, and refill them with some oil. Then I'm gonna throw some, get some limiters on the side of them and go up front. Take these 120 millimeters. I'm only gonna limit them just a couple millimeters, 3, 4, 5 millimeters, just enough to make them a little shorter than the rears. Set the rears up for full set, but what I'm also gonna do then is take the fronts off, refill those, and use them without the springs and everything on the back as a secondary suspension, just to help soak up the bumps and everything with the springless. So running 4 shocks in the back. And put a little bit different oil in them and see if that helps get these things a little bit better until the sway bar comes in, gets a little bit more stable, and try to get rid of some of that torque twist and everything else is going on. So I figured out what the hell. I fired up a video and BS with people. Got a various plethora of something's coming here for the thing. Okay. A few different parts. Sway bar, obviously. I picked up a Vanquish for the Yeti 2. So I'm going to need a longer piece of spring steel, which I believe I have here anyways. So I should be able to get that in place when it arrives in a few days. But until then, I don't think it's going to be Wednesday, maybe Thursday when it gets here. Until then, this thing's got a bit of torque twist, stock system in it so far. I haven't pulled it out. I've got a different system coming. We'll see how it does. It is a sensorless system, Hobby Wing Max 8 and 2200 kV on the way. Like I say, it is sensorless, so that may not be the easiest thing to get to here. Boy, that's all right. Oh, down there. That one I can get to. Derpity. Looking at the wrong hole. Yeah, come on. So I'm going to toss that in here. I had one in my 4x4 Slash and got rid of it last fall. Then this came out and went, I wish I kind of would have kept it. So I think it'd be a good match for this, especially once the 2-speed's in place and set up to work properly. So I figured I'd got 2-speed coming, servo, and the little pieces, parts I need to get that going. And two front. Those will go again back in the back. I've got a set of support plates for the trailing arms, but I also have a new set of trailing arms coming. These are getting a little whopped up already, so I just bought a new set, and I'll put those together here in a couple of days, get those installed. So I got a few things on the way. Put lock diffs in it. Took it out today for a quick run. Does pretty good. Does, you know, diffs are in there. Center diff seems to be okay. No problem yet. I got a locker coming to put in it in case I decide to. I don't know. My initial thought was lock up the rear, maybe lock up the center, but I was thinking more like putting 25 million weight in the center and then 1 million in the front, and leaving the front with a diff. But after going through and I bought 2 diffs to put in these cases just so I had to, in case I wasn't sure what to do or what I was going to do. So I picked up 2 diff repair kits, obviously gears and stuff, and 2 lockers. And after seeing what's going on, I opted to go with the lockers in both front and rear. And like as somebody else said, probably lock up the center for right now too. Issue, in my opinion, with the diffs and the problems everybody's having there is soft metal, number one. So the metal wears very quickly. Some people had said wrong pitch. That's possible. Bad pitch or bad profile on the teeth. That's possible. But they're wearing really fast because I picked this up secondhand in a trade deal. I got a pretty good, deal out of the end of the day, I believe. If that goes, but overall, picked this up in trade. Both front and rear discs were shot. Kid I picked it up from, guy, he's not a kid, he's younger than I am, but he's a runner. He don't beat the crap out of things, but he runs. This wasn't bad. It's in pretty decent shape overall, but both diffs were just basically toast. And like I say, I'm looking through here and went through it, pulled all the 1 million out, and it was smooth. I mean, there was no metal chunks in it, so the diff teeth didn't break. They just wore down. And looking at this thing, it didn't get much runtime. He might have run 5-10 packs through the system, maybe 5 or 10. So these I'm going to set aside because those are the rears, and I'm going to maybe bypass the rears for now. So, and then I'm going to need some oil. Let me see what I got in here. Put this oil back in its regular box and just keep it in there. There's 50 weight. This diff lube. That's something possible. Maybe I got some Traxxas 1000 diff oil. What is this stuff? That's 80 weight shock oil. That's a little heavy. But maybe I'll put some of this, I guess that's 10,000, but I think I got some 1,000 around here too. I use 1,000 diff fluid. There's my 60. And put some 1,000 diff fluid. I guess it's That's 30. Down here. Oh, that's all my screws and stuff. That's what that's at. So that's 30,000 Mugen. 50,000. That's 90 weight shock oil. Shock oil. Okay, those are shock oils. What is that one? That's a shock oil. 10,000. Oh, 30. Yeah, 10, 30, and 50 weight. Okay. That's 200,000 diff oil, and that's 500,000. And I've got 2.5 million lube on the way for the diff. So I've got 200, 500, well, 10, 30, 50, 200, 500, a million, and I'll have 2.5 million here in a couple of days. But maybe I'll pick up a small bottle of, 1,000 weight oil, diff fluid, and use that in the accessory shock. The front shocks that I'm going to take the springs off and use as a secondary shock on the rear end. See a lot of people switching over to 120 mil shocks. A lot of people using the Pro lines. They're a little bit better quality. These are cheap Chinese knockoffs, so they're not expensive. But it shouldn't be too bad. I'm thinking I've got a bunch of ends. I'll see if I've got some longer ends that will double as shock shafts to make the front and backs just a little longer. And see what happens. The worst thing is they bend up, and I'm out a few bucks because I can't use them. If I bend the shafts, I can always, buy a similar shaft and replace it. But at that point, with the work you'd have to do to make everything fit right, probably better off at that point just buy a good set of Pro line shocks or something. So let's one for dumping. These shocks are actually kind of nice. They're not really that bad looking. They seem to be pretty good. Quality doesn't seem to be all that bad. Not in there. All my stuff that. That is. I spent a few bucks. Picked up some nice sliders. Ooh, that's a steamy out there, Paul. Yeah, over here in Michigan, we've been getting rained on steady for about 4 or 5 days. He's, 80 today, but mostly humidity. It's barely been in the 50s and 60s, man. Kind of crazy. We're looking at, I'm looking at here, us guys in Michigan going, yeah, June flowers bring, or June showers bring July flowers, man, because it's kind of crazy weather we're having over here. At least is what we would consider normal for what would be a normal June. But we needed the rain. It has been a little bit of a dry spring too, so let's see. These are all four the same, though I do believe I got different oils in the two. These really didn't get much use. The oil is damn clean. I ran them for about, I don't know, maybe 7 to 10 packs through, and yeah, they're a little too much. That's just crazy. At Portland is 109 degrees. I bet you the humidity over there is pretty stifling too, so it probably feels like 129. We get a lot of humidity here in Michigan, and it can get pretty rough at 80% or higher, man. Over here we say, who needs, criminals? You go outside and just get mugged by Mother Nature in the middle of July, because it gets humid. 80, 90, 100% humidity. And then, 95. And we've been up to 100, 105 a couple times, but we generally hover in the 80s and lower 90s. But it's gotten a little warm there, and with that high humidity, whoo. Now, maybe I did have all the same oil in these. Oh, it's been. But yeah, these shots seem to work pretty well in droop setup. Overall, they held up to bouncing and crashing on the throttle, of course, and powering out of stuff. So. Yeah, that is steamy. Luckily, we haven't seen that here yet. It hasn't been that warm at the moment. Okay, get rid of that. Let's pull off the other. Oh. I guess I just used them up. I have another one ready to go. Okay. To do a little peeling here. Let's see. That should work out pretty nicely. Do these. And these are dual rate springs that came on these long shots, so that's kind of a nice help, or should be. I got some M3 style ends that have a longer shank, so I should be able to maybe get another 1/4 inch out of these and get them back to like 125 millimeters or so in that place, at least for the rears. Try to make them as long as I can. The only other option would be to create some kind of shock mount extender that could be mounted to the back shock mount that would stick down for the shock to mount to itself in some place. Maybe something similar to a leaf spring shackle, the triangle leaf spring shackle, where 2 bolts could go and hold everything steady and drop the shock down. I'd like to do something not really like a triangle, but in that way, but where your 2 shocks, so that way you could still utilize the front or the rear mount like I plan to do. I think I'm going to run the springs in the back and put the unsprung shocks in the middle towards the center of the chassis. The front shocks here, put those up there because they're going to be a little shorter and a little collapsed anyways. Because those won't go out all the way. That way, these are just acting like a suppression. Maybe I'll just fill them up with 100 weight right now just to add some thicker stuff because I don't have any 1000 diff fluid. Maybe the way to go. We'll see as I get through here. Okay, let's grab them. use or lose all these springs. All those O-rings should be good as long as I'm careful when I put them back together. Okay. Smarties are RC crack. Okay, now the question is, for the two fronts, I don't think I'll limit them any. I was debating on putting a few limiters in them, but I don't think I'm going to. Those can set for a little bit. Just to drain out. Those ones right there. 4 of them, SSDs. Yes, these are from my Trail King kit. So those are longer SSD, 3 millimeters, 3/4, I think. So they will, oh crap, work pretty well. All right. It fell and the backside was open. This down here. Okay. All right. Now, yeah, let's drain it out a little bit better now. Bit. Finish up. Come on. For that nasty thing. Yeah. She is a little warm here though. And she's in the 80s, not terribly bad. Okay, so yeah, I'll leave them unadjusted on the underside, and full out. Gently, okay, good. As long as you don't see any orange O-ring as you're bringing them through. That's why it's good to kind of push and turn a little bit. Now, these are a double O-ring setup, so they do have 2. Come on. What's up with that one? This one like looks good. No orange. You got orange O-ring, so you can definitely tell when you peel a little bit of the O-ring. That's a good way to create a leak. Okay, so we grab a spare bit of towel, do a little wiping here, thread chasing, clean them up a tad. Yeah, if anybody's out there in this hot stuff, drink lots of water. Just lay off the soda, the beer, the alcohol. It makes you more thirsty. I'm not a fan of Gatorade and those things. No energy drinks. Stay away from those. In this heat, you want pretty much water or a heavy water, no low sugar item. I do drink coffee and don't drink a lot of water, although there's a lot of water in coffee. But I should drink more plain water, especially when it's warmer out. So yeah, if you are out in this stuff, yes, do be careful. On that one too, one more time. And more look a little nasty. Might do one other thing here. When I put these front shocks on the rear, I may actually run them upside down. Been kind of thinking about that just to lower center of gravity off the cage some, but I think once they're dropped, I think the back, that's going to go down quite a bit. The back shocks, you know, they're what, 148 millimeters, something like that, eye to eye. Let me see what this thing, I can get 100 millimeters out of this. So that's 100 right there. Here, let me make it easy. We'll use the adjuster to set 100 millimeters to measure off of. I wish they would have put metal. I think I got the metal rings, although the plastics won't move as much, so there is that. So let's see where 100 millimeter ends up. Let's flip it over 100 there actually. 110 right there. That's 100. Good. Let's see where we end up here. Oh, that's pretty darn close. Take it down a little bit more. From eye to eye is where I'm going. Okay, so let me take it up a little bit, a little too low. Okay, that's pretty darn good. There's 100 millimeters. Where's that set at? It's sitting at the bottom of that. Okay, 100 millimeters. And then we are .45. So eye to eye is 145 millimeters on the rear shocks. Eye to eye on the front shocks. Do the same thing, but they'll be pretty close there. Okay, I can use that off the top. It's a little high. Again, open it up all the way. It's past 100 millimeters. You get a good eye, good number on it. You go there. Take this down a little bit. Let's see how we set it here. That's pretty good. Within a millimeter. So we had 145 on the front and 100 and to center 30. 130 there, and I get in that spot. 132 maybe actually. So yeah, I figure 132, 133 millimeters on the front, 145 on the back. Those are eye-to-eye measurements on the Axial Ryft stock shocks. So at 120, you're going to lose 28 millimeters off the back. That's a bit. That is a bit of loss. I wonder. So this got me thinking for a minute. A lot of people doing 120s all the way around. Wonder if we use the fronts as rears to 130 and then put the 120s up front. I could even double up the fronts with 120s with these 420s and use the two shocks on the rear. And the fronts will just limit the backs from traveling all the way out. Maybe that's the way to go. Because if I do that, then I can fill all four of these with 50 weight. And then redo the backs with 60. And then redo the fronts with no springs as secondaries, or actually redo the fronts with 60s sprung and unspring the backs and run them as secondary and put 100 weight in them. That's what I'll do. That's what we'll do. Because 120, that's moving 30 millimeters of travel. 30 millimeters of travel, that's almost 2 inches. That's quite a bit of travel. I don't think I want to go down that far. 3/4 of an inch, which would be what you get put in the front and the back, wouldn't be so bad. Okay, so slight change over what I put in the comments. Take some 50 weight. Now these are unbleedable, or I don't want to say unbleedable. They don't have bleeder screws. I could probably adapt them. Drill a small hole in there and get rid of the bladders. But I'm pretty good with bladder shocks. Except I filled that one up a little too damn much for starting out. Ooh. That's the other thing. Where's my other box? That's the one thing I forgot to grab. A little bit more out. too bad. Just a couple drips. A couple drips, leave a little out. Yeah, that should work out. Oh, yay far. Go ahead and set that aside. We'll do this one. Didn't have much in there, was that thought I did. This one suckered some water or air, so I'm gonna have to let her set a little longer and bubbles. I thought I had more fluid in there when I first moved it. Okay. A little hard to see here, but I don't know if it's going to focus for us or not. It might, but I doubt it because this thing's kind of funky. But see that oil coming up as the shot's going out. It's got a dampener button in it. And right there, she's about bottomed out. You can see that oil is almost at the top. Put that up and then pour down, double check a few things. See how cloudy she looks. All right, there's a couple air bubbles in there, so I'm gonna let her set for a minute. Let's see this one. Focus on that or not. I think it might be trying to, but you know, it was just about out. Got the shaft almost all the way in to the start of the threads. And yes, this does have a diaphragm, but you can still overfill them a little bit. So I'll seat it in there. And this is a deep diaphragm. It pushes down quite far, so. And still got to push some oil out. A little too much. A little too much yet. Still a little too much. I think if there was a small breather hole that some air could seep underneath this diaphragm through the cap, obviously somewhat kind of filtered to keep dirt out of it, that would allow that diaphragm to work just a little better. And compress a little better. There we go. Now, this up. Okay. Let's see. Gosh, it's still I guess that's all right. It goes all the way in, but boy, it's pretty snuggy there, but that's okay. And that's what we want. It's pretty close. I probably could have took just a little bit out, and I'm going to. I think I could have done it now. I know I should have done it. Two more drops. She got a bunch of bubbles in her because I didn't quite get it set right. So redo it a little bit. That one should be okay now. And that up in there. Probably a little full. Yep, a little full. Take a little bit out of this. That might have been a little too much out. Let's see here. That actually might not be too bad. Yeah, that's all right. Still comes out ½ inch almost. Okay. Use these little girls. Throw a slightly longer, heavier duty rod end on these cheap Chinese shocks, which will extend my length about 5-6 millimeters. Okay. That's right. Damn. Okay. Easy enough to fix. Don't forget to put your screw caps on before your other cap, your adjuster collars. They got to go on with the caps off. And I forgot. There. Put you on first. Slide you back up and in. One drop in. Because they can be that fiddly. It's amazing what one drop can do. And that little snugger. I think we'll give that a try. Okay, that's good. Try this one. I'll build all 4 of these things the same, right? Or at least as close to the same as I can. Not yet. Almost did it twice. Yes, looks good. Ooh. longer rod end. This will lengthen out these up front, which should take them like 125 millimeters now. So I'll go from 133 on the rear to 125 basically up front using these longer rod ends on these 120 millimeter shocks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, will lower our ride height without limiting as much as a full 120 will. And I think running the double shock and back, I really think that's the way to go. I think that's really going to help a little bit of that tension roll, that torque twist that's going on. Okay. It's a little too much now. Kind of hard to see that reddish orange fluid in these reddish orange shocks. It's too much still. That's actually pretty good right there, looks like. Take 1, 2 drops out of it. Uno, dos. We'll set that one, let it soak a little bit. Actually, might be good. A little bit of air's out from underneath the piston. Drop 2 back in here. Okay. Could be just a little full, but we'll see. Thinking it is. Yep, just a little bit. Wiring this up again. Drops. This is the fiddly part about shocks that everybody bitches about. I hate doing shocks. Once you learn them, they ain't too bad. Each shock type has its little quirk about filling and bleeding, unless they're just really crappy shocks. Which, some of these Chinese ones really crappy. You know, some RTR ones are really crappy. Who am I kidding? Yeah, that's good. Oh, that one felt real good. That one felt real good. So. There's straight, dog. There we go. Get on there straight. Put it in all the way so they're seated well. There we go. This spring Lick up. Trace. Drop in there. Tap, tap, tap. Knock those bubbles up. Clean that cap too a little bit. Using my fingernail to chase dirt out of the threads with this paper towel. If anybody's wondering what the hell he's doing there. Not that far, dog. You're a little too high. Clean those up a bit. Okay. That looks better. Yeah, that's nice. Goes all the way in. Good. That one's just like that second one there I built. So one of those on each side. It is nice having shack players and not having to worry about cloth and paper towels, things like that to hold your shafts. They're down here a little bit. Okay, there are fronts. So I need one of each of these on the front, one of each of those on the back. So we'll split them off this way. And bam. And these two here. And I can stay there. We are done with 50 weight. There. Now these are rears. These are fronts. So let me grab my 100 weight. And I'm going to put those here. Actually, 100. So let's go ahead. Start with the fronts. The way those are set up. Definitely a little heavier duty, which I think is going to be important. Actually, you almost should run these heavier duty ones on the front with the extra weight up front. These are a bigger shot shaft, and well, maybe not. Yeah, maybe just a little bit. They might be bigger than these cheap Chinese ones. But at the end of the day, look damn near. I can mic them here, but I'm not gonna worry about throwing the mic on them. They're close enough. I don't think the shock bodies are that different in length, though. They're not. Shock bodies are about the same length. I'm sure the caps are a bit different. No diaphragms in these. I'm postulating. So I don't really need to worry about anything except filling, bleeding. And these will be really easy to do. So go ahead and drain you out. And these are obviously better stuff. They are a wider shock body, though, I think. Yeah, they are a little thicker in diameter, I think, as far as piston size. Of course, these have got screws on them over E-clips on the setup. That go. Yeah, I'm gonna run 60 weight on these with the springs, and then I'm gonna run 100 weight on the rears without the springs as an added dampener. And like I say, I think I'm gonna run them upside down. I may be taking a risk of doing some serious damage, but I think that wouldn't be that big of a issue. Nothing but a O-ring and some fluid, a little bit of plastic in the top of the cap. Wipe those out a little bit. Trash that. We'll keep the tops tight. Now with these, because these got bleeder caps on them, bubbles out from underneath. There's a couple in there. Okay, run 60 weight up into this one. Okay, so I'm going to cap this off a little bit. Shock shaft's all the way extended out. Let me tip this up a little bit here. So shock shaft's extended all the way out. Filled right to the limit. These bleeder caps, these are real simple. Throw your cap on, snug her into place. It's got an O-ring underneath here, so don't twist it too much. You don't want to tear up your O-ring. Now I'm going to set this one aside for a minute. Grab this one. Get the shaft all the way out. Make sure all the bubbles are gone. Right. Fill her to the brim. Okay. Cappy, cappy. Tighten in place. Now, find the right Allen wrench, and that should be it, I believe. It's just a little on the big side. You unscrew your bleeder screw. You probably don't even have to take it all the way out, but we might. Apply pressure, and there we go. Oil starts to flow. Grab a rag to catch any excess flow out instead of making a mess. Don't push hard because it will squirt out straight out. I just tried to loosen it up enough to actually start pushing it out, but probably gonna end up having to really get it out most of the way to. Now push down hard and get it in there. There we go. It's got a little O-ring there on the screw. That's what makes these kind of nice. You just kind of put the caps on them, let them set for a few minutes so the bubbles come to the top. Loosen your bleeder screw. apply some light pressure to just push out that excess juice. And voila. That's nice. You up. Redo the spring. Redo the cap. One shock is done. Again, these are all 4 of the stock shocks are going to end up on the rear of this girl. So you see how long it took me to do and set up and get ready to bleed those other ones? These ones are done. That's all there is to bleeding. Do have to double check your, make sure you're not pushing your O-ring out like I did. I just tightened it up too much and squished out my O-ring. Another thing, these things don't have to be like slammed down tight. I'm doing the same thing, pushing out the O-ring a little bit. Okay, that's that one. So yeah, all the time it took me to redo the fronts. Of course, I did have to take off the springs underneath and lengthen them up, or I should say, yeah, what's going to be the fronts now. That time done on the rears, at least the first set. Okay. These off. Clean, those both dirty. This is dirtier than the other. Make it a little bit. Looks like. Hey. Ooh, a little steamy. Hour and 10 in. not always the fastest guy doing stuff, but it's live, raw, unedited. I'm not gonna edit anything. I just make them and upload them, or make them and upload them, or make them and do them live and just leave them up. I need to be edited for content and don't want to hurt anybody's feels. If your feels get hurt, you need to grow up. If you're a young child, you know, I'm not made for kid content. I don't say I am. But if you're a younger kid here and you get offended by anything you say, you have to man up, young man or young lady, because the world, if I offend you, the world's really going to be a problem. So. Okay, cleaned up a little better. Some seats around here. You see, these things don't run too long or too hard. Fluids in the back a little gray. The fronts were even grayer, obviously, quite a bit darker. But it's still somewhat clear. Not totally grayed out. Of course, this is a clear fluid when it went in, so it had some clearness in there. It's a little worse, a little darker. But some of that fluid ain't totally grabbed. So it ain't like these have been really old and used and abused. Fluid's not all that bad. Yes, you're right. I do need to quit smoking. I've been telling myself this quite a few times. I actually quit for a couple years. And then I got back on the road and got in that heavy traffic and wasn't long. And I had a cigarette instead of wanting to cause problems on the interstate for stupid drivers. I started smoking again. Clean that out. This one out. Okay, these are totally junk. Just don't use them anymore. At least not now. Yeah, the SSD kits, you know, basically an SCX 10.2 upgraded kit from SSD. It uses 90 millimeter shocks. So these 120s were obviously way long. But like I said, I had spring mods underneath them, which cut down a lot. At least, you know, it held them about 10 or 12 millimeters high. But yeah, they ended up still being just too long for even group. I think 100 millimeters, 105 would have been more than enough, and even those limited 10 millimeters, you know, with the spring mod, so they can kind of bounce a little bit on the up and bottom. Okay, if I got that in this one, we got it in most of them too. Okay, let's fill. Hard to see that purple too. Watch I don't overfill that too much on the next one. It's coming out anyways, but no use putting in that much excess. That's a little better. Working bubbles up. Still one or two in there. You can see them down there a little bit. Some of the local guys gonna be getting together tonight. About an hour. I guess they're doing it right now. They're getting together at 6 o'clock to start doing some drag racing. I was gonna go over, but I got busy doing a bunch of stuff here around the yard. I still gotta go out and do a few things. I'm gonna go move some dirt for the old lady. Okay, cap these. And let it set. But yeah, I've been meaning to get over there, but I haven't got my bodies painted. I've been waiting for one of my bodies to show up, the Alpha 20 body from Backyard. I got in early on the second pre-order. I didn't get in on the first. I missed it. I was off working and wasn't able to get in before it was filled up on the first pre-order. So I didn't get one of the first bag of bodies on the first pre-order, but I did get on the second one. And me, and along with the whole number of people, I don't know exactly how many, have been waiting for the second orders to get fulfilled and set up and shipped. Guys been fighting with manufacturing issues. Of course, we had the whole COVID thing going on last year, which I'm sure didn't help him either. Trying to work through all that stuff. A couple states away, getting the manufacturer to start pulling molds in mass as opposed to one-offing them at his place. And that's what he was going to do. And then for the last couple of days, I know Justin went down and picked up his mold so he could come down and bring it back and just start doing them in-house. But it seems like over the last day and a half, there's been other complications that have arisen, and they're kind of looking like there may not be any more backyard RC, which means no mold, nobody pulling vacuums. He is selling the mold, so maybe one of the companies out there, Guy RC, will grab the mold from him, pay him for the mold that he's got for the Vega body, and put the Vega body out. I don't know, but as of right now, this point, it doesn't look like there's going to be any more Vega bodies except for what's already out there on the market. What's already been, made and sold. So might not be getting a Vega body, unfortunately. It's a beautiful body. He did a hell of a job. But if I don't, well, that's that. But I've been kind of hanging on that body until I got it, because it was, it's originally supposed to be here in, February, early March was the anticipated plan. But that didn't happen. And here we are in, near the end of June, still waiting. And of course, last few days events took place, and that looks like a bit of a CF. So time to find a different body. Now, I'm not a Ford guy, but my old man had a 67 fastback, 66 or 67 fastback. My wife, lady, she's a Ford gal. She likes her Fords. I'm a GM kind of guy. Dodge is pretty decent, old Dodge. I'm more of a GM guy. Up until 2011, 2012, when it was basically taken over fully by the government. At any rate, I can use those still. I gotta bleed this. So, anywho, ha. I've been looking at that new body from Ford, or from Proline, the Ford 67 Fastback. That's a nice, I don't need to do that. That's a pretty nice looking body. Looks like it'd be fairly aerodynamic. And then you got, of course, what is it? The one I just mentioned there that makes the Supra. They've got some nice bodies. They're what, 4th gen Camaro, I think they're called them. I like the old Camaros, not the newer ones. Those 4th gen Camaros don't look bad. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Get all those little bubbles out of that. So I'm thinking about the Mustang, or maybe that Gen 4 Camaro. I was really hoping the Firebird would have looked better, but it's okay. But I'm not a real fan of that dragged out front end look. I like a little bit more of the stock Super Street as opposed to what we call pro stock. Let's get this thing cleaned up a little bit. That bleeder screw tight. Make sure I got that O-ring well, not too squeezed or squeezed out. So that's what keeps your bleeder sealed. Take it back a little bit, let her set. There we go. Reset herself a smidge. That looks better. Okay. So yeah, I'm trying to decide what to do for my last body, for my tarp rig. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to go with it yet. Like I say, I was going to put the Vega body on it. I initially was going to throw the Vega body on the 13.5. Originally going to do it on the 13.5. Put it on there. But then now put, more like a sleeper. So put it on the tarp rig, which has a Trinity 3.5 in it. So it should be a pretty quick one. So, like I said, the Ford's an option. The Drive RC, the 4th gen Camaro looks pretty good. I see the split nose Camaro. I think it's made after, what is it, 71. This front split bumper Camaro. I see the guy who's doing that has it up. Took pre-orders last week. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully he can get his bodies in production and get them out without too many hurdles. But that's, a lot of people don't realize how much is involved in being a small business owner, like in the RC world. I mean, RC world is kind of fickle. I mean, you either got to go to any of the Traxxas or Losi pages and read for about 5-10 comments until somebody mentions the other, rig. Whether you're on the Losi page and somebody says Traxxas, you're on the Traxxas page and somebody says Team Associated, you're on their page, so he mentions Traxxas and Losi. And then you see how fickle people are. For me, I'm more about originators. I like people who come up with original ideas, original parts, and then turn around and put them into play, which is exactly why I'm 1000% a company like Integy, or as I call them, Intacrap. Sure, their parts are okay. They look really nice, but they design nothing. All they do is take a part you designed and bring to market and put all the work and time and blood, sweat, and tears into it. Buy a couple of them, make scan copies, and then run them through the CNCs. I mean, they don't design anything. They only steal ideas and then steal profits from the idea makers, driving them out of the market, making no more idea makers. So if you support Integy, understand you're supporting the death of the very thing you're enjoying. Because if nobody's around to make anything new, Integy ain't gonna make it. They'll keep selling the old stuff though. Integy has not designed one thing for no prep drag, nor will they ever. But they'll sell you a whole shit of no prep drag parts that they stole from other people. There we go. Getting that thing to set right with these O-rings can be a little bit tricky. I'm still wanting to push out a smidge. Make sure I got all the oil pushed out well. I should have. More out of it. So yeah, if you're out there and you're buying parts, buy whatever floats your boat, but understand that if you buy parts from companies like Integy, that they do no R&D, they do no investment, they do no research, they just take other people's parts because China doesn't follow copyright laws. And granted, a lot of people don't have their parts copyrighted. Copyright for an RC part can get into the hundreds of thousands of dollars just for the copyrights. not counting molds, R&Ds. If you're injection molding, you're CNCing all those parts and cost, it is not cheap. Am I having a problem with this one piece here? Oh, and just wants to kind of spit out a little bit right there. Probably a little oil in behind it, and it's kind of sealed out, so it's not allowing it to do. There we go. That got it. Okay. Okay, there are the two rear shocks with 100 weight. 100 weight? Are you nuts? No. Because these ain't going to have, well, maybe I will put springs on them just to help counteract. So yeah, when you're buying parts, buy parts from innovators, small businesses, buy direct from small businesses. I do get a lot of my stuff from AMAIN and local hobby shops, but I do get a lot of it offline off AMAIN. A little bit, obviously. I bought cheap Chinese shocks for this, so I do buy a little bit of this stuff. Shocks are one of those things. There's only a few dozen ways to really make them. And I wasn't looking to spend $150 on shock sets right off the bat. So I do buy some stuff here and there. But when it comes to like the rigs, like, I was an HPI Baja guy. So back in 2006, 7, I think it was 2007 when the HPI Bajas come out. I got one. A couple other people got them. My neighbors each got one, brothers, they each picked one up. A bunch of people in the state here got them. So we were all out, bashing them. And then by 2009, 2010, King Motors had dropped their parts. Of course, only a version or a portion of the King Motors stuff would work on a Baja. Vice versa, only some of the Baja stuff would work on a King motor, but a lot of the parts were pretty much straight over interchange. Chassis plates, a lot of that stuff was just swap and go. There wasn't any difference in it other than the quality of the machining or the quality of the aluminum used. HPI, of course, used higher quality stuff. King Motors used kind of junk, cheap metal. And of course, that caused major problems. Okay, so those back there, these can come over here because I don't need them with that. Put the phone up there. Don't need that. So one side, the other side, the rears. Drop that down. Come here, little girl. Let's put some shoes back on. No, not really shoes, I guess. Whatever. Glasses. Must be out in the other room. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna still put these on. I didn't want the bifocals, but it'll work. So, I don't know if I can put two shocks on the front or not. So let's take a peek here. So my concept here is to run the two front shocks in the rear in the farthest back position. And I got 60 weight in here. And then the rear shocks in the rear front position, the uppermost rear mount. And I've got 100 weight in here. I may take the springs and caps off. Actually, I think I'm going to, because I think that's going to be plenty springy enough with those. I'll try it without the springs and caps at first on the rear shocks. I don't think I'm going to need that much. That come up here. These, yeah. No. And then we'll need another pair of shock mount bolts. So I'll have to get those out. So let's see. These to fit in there. There we go. Is that the ones? Looks like it. Okay. Help myself out. A little light from the other angle. Okay. Oh, that's right. I was going to run these upside down. We'll do that. Are there different size balls front and back? wonder if I can just swap the balls. Okay. Let's see what's going on here. Balls are slightly different sizes. Width, I should say. Oh, they sure are. Okay. So it looks like one's wide, too wide, double collar, single collar, single collar. So I'm going to pop the double collar out and the single collar in. Push it anywhere out of the way. Up on the side. No. On this side. You go in there. Bottom one goes in here. I sure made that a lot easier than the other normal stuff. Okay, now I want to run these. Shoot, I want to run these upside down though. I've got to swap the balls top and bottom now. Wide one goes here. On the bottom, smaller one goes on the shaft side. Now, if you folks didn't know, FYI, on your rod ends, all of them, they take a pivot ball anyways. When you look at your pivot or your pivot ball rod ends, I don't know if if it's gonna clean out or not. Okay, see how that side's got a little beveled edge on it? And that edge's got a light one, but it's clean. When you look through it, you're going to see one side's just slightly bigger in diameter than the other side. And see, that's the wider side. You can see the collar on the inside, and that's the thinner side, and you can't see the collar on the inside. The wider side is the side you put your balls on. I've seen a lot of people just slapping them in there without, it doesn't appear that they're paying attention. And then, you know, you see people complaining about their ball ends being sloppy. If you install the ball end from the thinner side, you're going to stretch out that ball end, and that's going to cause a problem. Not all ends or ball ends are like that, but most of them are. If you look at them closely, you'll see one of the holes is a little bit bigger on one side than it is on the other. And that's the side you push the ball in and out of. The other side's a little smaller because it's supposed to help capture the ball from flopping out and popping out. And then when you install them, you got to kind of pay attention on that. I've seen people on these wrists with these bent links here, breaking, of course. They could be brittle. It's taking a lot of torque. And as you see mine, they're popped off. But, and this is, I think, is a design issue on them, I'm going to say, because at the smaller end, if that would pop on, the smaller end was this side, you know, the inside, chances of them doing that, popping off, would be less likely because it'd take a considerably more force to push that ball through this smaller hole than the bigger side. So these were bent the wrong way, you know, that heated up or molded. That adaptation hole should be on the other side because when it hits, it's going to be pushing and trying to dislodge it. I see most people are taking these bent ones out when they break and going with straights. I've actually got some RC four-wheel drive angled ends and bent ends. They're pretty durable. I might try those if these axles have a problem, if I end up breaking them. Okay, so now that I've done that, I should be able to get you in there upside down. I think that's the front one. Okay, no, that is the wrong bolt. It is way too short. Okay. Come on. These must, oh yeah, these are the bottom for the. Come on, darn you. Kind of a icky design getting in and out of there some days. That's kind of a pain in the ass. Pulling these bolts up, so they're sticking in this plastic a little bit. Like that right there. Should be rolling in. Come on, you son of a dog. The fuck in there. Bastard, you were just in there. Taper, what a pain in the arse. They don't make that very easy. Trying to scoot that screw through that small cage opening. Alright, put them backwards. I did. Take them out and then put them right back in the wrong side, you dumbass. You dog. Let's drop it. And scrape it off into it. Okay. See, these haven't been cranked down too much. Now I do have plates, like I said earlier in the vid, but I'm not going to put them on these arms. I'm going to wait until I get the new ones and put them on that. Those are the same small balls. So, out with the big one. And in with the small one. Screw here. What was that one? Screw that one dropping here. I'll find that little sucker. You spill. little bit long one. Do I have too long? Those both look good. This one's already in. That's that one. Mm-mm. No, these ones aren't the same. The wider ones. Got those two. They should work. Okay, I'll do that. So I at least got to match top and bottom here. Too small. Big enough ball. Neither of those. Didn't think about that. Those are a pretty big ball. Well, oh, I bet you anything they are. Yep. These are the wrong ones. These are supposed to be the wider ones on the bottom, which is why these are collapsing in a little bit. Guaranteed. So let me pop this one back off here for a few minutes. Get that ball out of there. Because those got to go on the top. Yeah, a little bit of fun getting this stuff all figured out. Kicking at 2 hours. It's been a few minutes since I've started this. All right, let's pop you out. Okay. Let's pop you in. Let's pop you in here. Now these things gotta come apart a little bit to get that in there. Because those were kind of collapsing earlier. I'm like, geez, why are they pulling in like that? Got the wrong balls in there. That would do it. Because this is supposed to have the wider balls to help push and keep these arms pushing outward. Now they're collapsed in, and a little bit of bear getting them in. But once they're in, Yeah. Part of the problem right there. But that would be a problem any way you go. Trying to run a second pair of shocks. Let me see why that's an issue there. Okay. I'm trying to look at what's happening here is the shock is actually running into, look here, let me back it up a little bit. The shock is actually going to hit the swaybar mount. That back piece would have to be off for that to even go in there. Well, the wider ball in it now. Is that the one in there? Maybe that's the smaller balls that go in there all the way around. Actually, I guess looking at it, it is. All right, well, that's a bit of a conundrum. They got room for two mounts here, but if you wanted to run your shocks in the fully forward position, it wouldn't work because the sway bar mount is in the way. Sway bar mount wasn't in the way, then that would go in there. So that's one of the little design issues that I see here. Let me get this one in place. So at least that one's in place and done up, and you can take a look. Yeah, you can kind of see how out of whack that is there. and see how off it is as far as front. Oop, I'm sitting here on the thing and trying to hit up a message that I wasn't going to send. Get this stuff out of here. That won't go through anyways. Way too many characters. Bump that. You up a little ways. I don't think I'm going to use that. I can't, because that's a small ball. It's not as big as a ball. So anyways, we're looking here. You see, to get it to the spot that's, you know, lined up with the hole basically here. But when you look up here, shock shaft and everything hit it. So when it collapses, it's just going to slam, you know, it's going to hit right into the mount area right there, just like that. Basically, that's how it sits there. That ain't going to work. So I don't know exactly what they had in mind by putting this optional shock mount forward, but if you wanted to put the top and bottom forward, it ain't going to work. Only one. You'll be able to move the bottom forward on the bottom and then put the top and the back mount, or vice versa, do the mount in the front mount on top and then have to come back to the back mount like such. That's the only way it's going to clear that mount, because you try to put them in the front, as you can see, it's right in it. And right there's inside. It's almost ready to drop in there. But if it goes up, you know, as it compresses, it's only going to go up a little bit until it hits, because the bottom is a long way up there. So yeah, a little design error there, folks over at Axial, just so you're paying attention if you do happen to see this, or somebody there happens to see this. You'll have to redo your rear shock mount pieces and relocate the top rear shock mount to be able to run the shocks in the frontmost position. Well, so much for that idea. I really was hoping to put double shocks on the back. This kind of helps stiffen it up a little bit and just let one shock float and be a just a transition shock to help soak everything up. But that don't look like it gonna work, sadly. Yeah, these things kind of screwed up too. Okay, so I guess we'll just go with the back shocks, or the front shocks in the back here. Yeah, you bastard. It's too long. All right, you little bastard. here. Kind of see what I was going at there with that thing in there. You know, I'm trying to get those double shocks in, but with the mount, of course, if you didn't want to use a sway bar, you could take the back of the sway bar mount off, move it out of the way, and then your second shock would probably work just fine. So, a couple options obviously is to move the shock mount a little backwards. That's about the only real thing you can kind of do. You know, redo the top shock mount so they're kind of shifted back a 1/4 inch. But that's going to stand them up a little more, take away some of that angle that's going to suck up on them. Well, that's kind of a drag. I was hoping upside down would have worked. I didn't think about that thing being in the way, but yeah, look, you can see she's sticking right in there. And it doesn't matter if you try to put the shock normal size, you know, the top, the big part to the top, because it's still going to hit the body. It's still going to hit that thing. Then it's going to kick the ball back on the bottom. It won't mount the arm in the right position. It won't make the right position. You have to bend the shock shaft just to get there. So, well, that kind of screws the pooch on that one. So, if that's the case, it's got to come out. This one's got to come out. I can't use this one here. Sometimes these things aren't in the best positions to do shit that you need to do. And so it's kind of cool.
I have something for you to do, dear, at your leisure. I'm going to turn Mom's old boots into like flower pots for display.
Okay.
And so I have to drill some holes in the boots because they're too big. I'm sorry, too small for Megan, and they're definitely too small for me.
Too big for Megan?
Yeah, because
maybe not wide enough, but
yeah, she says they pinch her feet.
okay.
So otherwise, you know,
too small for her too. No, that's fine.
So I thought we would take them and drill some holes in them, and we could like plant some herbs in them or something.
Sure.
I have a bunch of junk, and so
Nope, that makes sense.
I like I'm slowly putting out as I have the plants to put in and putting out Mom's little decorative stuff, you know, provided it's not falling apart, you know, because I'd rather just repair it than
Yeah,
I don't know.
some of it's in tough shape.
What's that?
Some of it is in tough shape.
Yeah, but some of it's still okay. And the stuff that's in tough shape isn't going out. It's just I've put it where it can't get any more wet than it already is. I don't know how much that's going to matter at this point, but rust
Right.
is rust, you know. Oh, okay. Second question. Do you have any cream liqueur in here? And if so, if I bring you a glass, can I have like a half a glass?
No,
And
I
if you don't, can we go get some?
Oh,
So I should have bitched more. That fucking is just a pain in the ass. Taking the skin off your knuckle, and then it just stays wet, kind of moist. It takes forever to heal. So yes, lovely.
it's better.
Fun, fun.
Fuckers.
Just a few little ones.
That's really bad. Damn, what a pain in the arse.
I get it. Just so you know, your X-Acto knife is on the counter beside the sink by the door. And just like you said, it's a little tricky. So it's open. And I figured you could mess with it because if I tried to mess with it too much, I might cut myself.
Normally, but you'd find a way out.
Oh, you know I would. Not intentionally, I'm just that, I guess I'm kind of bird-brained myself, aren't I, a little bit?
You just don't pay enough attention to what you're doing when you got sharp objects in your hand. Yeah, it's too short. It's the shorter one.
Kitty's taking me.
Oh, it's that one. This one. Jeepers creepers. Fucking ridiculous trying to get the goddamn screw out. binds up on the fucking plastic and then just falls up. Not long enough at all. Let's write this for the bottom. Okay. Really hoping to put the double shot, these damn doubles on the back, but it ain't gonna happen with this design. But the front's on the back, using the front shocks on the back, I'm gonna shorten it up a little bit so it ain't quite as long. Okay. Oh, for fuck's sakes. Hi, mine, not paying attention. Close enough. Because I installed the back shock on this side, not the front. Yes, I'm recording.
What I was asking you. Well, I've actually been tinkering and fixing with that one a lot more than I've seen you in the past with others.
Lately, yeah, most, you know, the newer ones. So the other ones are pretty much good to go.
Ford sticker on that? You know?
I don't have.
I heard it. You got a screw right there too.
Yes, huh?
Just in case you didn't see it.
Yep, I did. But the other ones, you know, except for the one that I traded off, they're all pretty much good to go.
And I can insult Ford because I like Ford.
Okay.
You know, I swear to God, I have never spent more money in my life than when I've owned Fords, whether that be a car or a truck. Well, trucks do pretty good, but cars, not bad. Big super good.
Where in the flying fudge? There it is. actually put that rear spring on here. That'll actually push it a little bit more. Rear spring on the front shock, because that all the way down that shock is a little sloppy. I'll have to do that on that side. We'll see how that works. Okay. Oh yeah, it's probably that time, isn't it? This just set this aside for right now. We'll see. We'll see if that helps any or not. I'm gonna undo this side, swap springs over. Okay. There's both the backs. Finally, dicking around and seeing what was going to work, and figured out the two shock isn't going to work. Okay. Pretty easy. Now, these are obviously going to be too wide, but is wider or no? That's the same width. So what about, and those are probably the same width in there too, aren't they? It's even thinner. It's a little wider, so I'm going to go ahead and try this one and see if it's any better.
I just thought that I should let you know that it's almost 7:45, and if you want to go to the store or go to the store, they're going to close this Sunday.
I believe they're up until 9 tonight, but
It seems tedious.
can be.
It's also got a really, really long pointy jabby thing that I thought it jabbed one day.
Now there is a possibility I can run these two on front. The way it would end up having to work is shock on each side here. Get rid of this thing. So you could run shocks on the front on each side. You'd have to mount one here and then one behind and put a ball in the middle to take up the space. You can see these ones are kind of thin. They're kind of biting. But not as much ride height. It does level things off a little more. I guess we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. Set it down here. It looks a little better as far as ride height in the back. All right, I'm gonna kill it there. It's been 2 hours and 47 minutes. Head down to the store, get cigarettes and some creamer, I guess, and we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.